Welcome back to episode 103 of the Grouch and the Brainstorm. And I'm Mike, and I'm joined today with Jill.
Hey, guys.
And Matt.
Hello.
And we have a special guest, Sig.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Sig.
Glad to have you here.
Glad you are here.
Thank you.
And so today, do we have any announcements before we get started? Because intergroup will be over by the time this thing airs.
Oh, okay.
Anything?
Nothing I
Can't
can
think of anything?
I can't think of anything.
Nothing.
Pancake
right.
breakfast.
It's
on
Friday.
The 15th.
Friday
We
at
do.
6, and I'm brain fried.
Pancake breakfast
Yeah.
on the 15th?
Yes.
All right. Well, you know what that means. Pancake. That means I gotta.
Play medium smalls.
I look for any reason to play that music, and we
Pancakes,
have
why
a
not?
pancake breakfast at the Highland Club on the 15th. Sig.
I think it's 15th.
All right. So we're gonna start this thing off like we usually do, without the umming. And Jill, what have you been up to?
Well, gosh. I'm trying to make thoughts happen.
We're just glad you're here on a Friday, Jill. You normally kind of,
I make it to the bed and
yeah,
die.
Yeah. So
Y'all have actually recorded with me in bed
A
on
few
a Friday, and then there's nowhere I really want to be more than in my bed right now.
and then we walk down the stairs and you're looking at us from the bed and you're like, how'd it go? We're like, yeah, good.
We do a live recording from our bed.
Yeah.
It has a
That would be good. All three of us sitting in a bed recording.
About like
as
the
a
time you and
50-ish
Roger were.
year-old
Well,
woman, I mean, things start to change, and I
understand.
just don't have the energy that I used to. My joints ache. God bless, I sound pitiful. But, yeah, I mean, just work, and, I mean, I really can't think of anything else going on because I really can't think right now.
Okay.
I'm trying.
We're just glad you're here, Jill. We're glad you're here.
We're glad you're here. Heck of a week. Heck of a week. Wait, why don't you start this on Saturday or Friday or Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking today of driving there. I was like, I forgot, and I'm driving home, and I was like, oh, I got to go by CVS, and then I was like, oh my gosh, the podcast. And then I was like, I wanted to go. I was like, all I could think about is I can't wait to get up and get in bed.
And then Sunday morning when it airs, it all starts over. So.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I had more to say, but I can't think.
So Matt, how's your week going?
It's good. Man, it's been good. We wrapping up basketball season. Praise God. We're about to be through with that. Those 8:00 Wednesday night practices. We're wrapping that deal up. Landry, I'm gonna give him a little shout out. I'm pretty proud of him. He's been on the bench all year at the middle school. It was his first. He's coming off the bench, and it was his first year playing middle school basketball or organized basketball, and on the 7th grade team. And he's had to work on his attitude, and we worked on things all year because he sometimes doesn't get to play a lot. So I told him, I said, hey, man, when you get in and you're open, shoot the ball. Well, he did, and he would miss. He kept missing. And I said, just keep shooting, man. It's going to fall. You're doing what you're supposed to do, just bad luck or whatever it is. So last game of the year was last night. He hits a big three in the game. We got it on video.
Oh, good.
So it was awesome. So he kind of ended the year on a really good note. And
Wonderful.
sports are so awesome because they just teach kids how to be a team and how to be, it's not all about me all the time, and he's had to learn that. So he's learned that. He's kind of struggled through that the entire year, but
Well, I saw that shot. I was like, "Go, Landry!"
I know, man. And if you haven't seen Landry yet, he's going to tell everybody about it. So
I would be like, "Why
y'all
not?"
get ready. He'll pin you down. He's going to tell you.
He looks like a pro.
Yeah. So that's what we've been doing, man. We're wrapping up basketball.
Oh,
So.
thank God! 8:00 practices. What? That's bedtime.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care about homework. They don't care about dinner. Nothing. So,
Yeah.
It's the same with every sport.
Oh.
Every single sport. I know with the horseback riding,
Now I can.
we have, everyone has to come out every day to take care of their horse. If they don't take care of their horse because they're on full board, they still come out and they ride their horse, they groom their horse, they take care of their tack and all of that. So it's just such a commitment. But it's really good for making children grow up and to be Well, actual real grown-ups.
Absolutely.
Have
know how to be a grown-up.
responsibility.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, and you can't mess around with a horse. I mean, it takes a lot of
Have to pay attention.
responsibilities, and I mean, I had to do that as a child. I learned how to saddle. I learned how to brush. Clean my horse and take him for walks and all the stuff.
Well, and I think it's it's that thing of like with basketball, he's putting the practice in the same practice as everybody, but when the game starts, he's played a lot in some games, but some games he didn't play at all. And so it's kind of a thing of like, is this all about me? Am I going to have a bad attitude? And he just adapted to it, and he's done really well. I'm proud of him. He's just
look
kind
at
of
him.
growing up, Yeah. So I want to give Landry a shout out.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yep.
So, Sig, what has been going on with you lately?
Actually, I have not been as busy as usual. I do a lot, try to do a lot of service work, and that's what I'm pretty much involved in. But the last couple of weeks, I have not done as much of that as usual. So, anyhow, I've been very busy in my personal life the last little bit.
That's good.
But anyhow, that's good. It
Yeah.
keeps me busy.
Yeah.
I get it. Staying sober sometimes is busy
It's
enough.
a full-time daggum job for
It
me.
is.
Yeah.
I know it is for Matt.
It's all hands on deck,
Yeah, Matt
so
has a hard time with it.
yeah. Yes, I do. Man, I do. And I'll tell you all about it. too.
12 kids don't keep you busy.
Man, let me tell you something. And then I worked with my sponsor. We've been working on his shop for probably 4 years now, just doing pieces at a time. So we usually around this time of year, I'm a little slow, and he blocks off some afternoons, and we try to accomplish a bunch. So we had our third stooge, Big Richard. I'm gonna give him a shout out too. He knows who he is, but he's our third, and it was off the chain yesterday. I mean, just the trash talking, it was great. So we spent the week doing that every afternoon, and yeah, it's been good. But it's always good spending time with him too.
Okay, so Bobby's building a man cave.
And I'm trying to get him to build me a tackle room. He built his own self one.
Okay.
And in the other corner, and he said that wasn't for me, that was for tools and stuff. And I was like, that's not.
How rude.
I thought you were.
very.
I thought you were his tool.
But yeah, I mean,
After 4 years?
yeah, after 4 years, I mean, we have, what he's doing is cool is putting the old rusty tin and cedar all inside, and he built a little Cajun cabin inside of it, and he's storing boxes and stuff like that. So it's really pretty. I mean, but we've just worked at it slowly,
So for people listening all over the world, and for me as well, what the hell is a kitchen cabin?
a Cajun cabin.
a Cajun.
like a little shack,
Cajun cabin.
It's like a replica of like a little shack you see on the bayou.
Okay.
It's got a little porch and everything on it, and
It usually has bodies in it that have been there for a while.
Few alligators.
it could be
Yeah.
depending on the cabin. You know,
You got to have alligators in to have it. So,
But yeah,
Okay.
it's coming along. It's looking good, and you're talking about getting old. You realize you are getting old when you start climbing scaffolding up and down all day, and then you're holding 10 above your head. Yeah, you wake up the next day and you're like, okay, I don't do that like I used to do. Like
What is this muscle?
yeah, I didn't know I had that. So, but I don't do muscles. I strain fat is what I do. I pull fat. So anyway, that's what I do. But yeah, so just having a good time, man, enjoying
Sounds
life.
like it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's been one of the things that's been really exciting to me is to see how much fun sobriety is. I honestly thought when I first started working toward it, I'm going to have to do this the rest of my life. I don't know how I'll ever do it.
Right.
And now it's like, what did I wait for?
Yeah.
Really, why did I
Yeah.
wait to get started on this? Because it sounds like y'all are having a blast.
And you know what? Here's what's funny. We all three they've been buddies for many, many years, and I met him in the last few years, and he's one of those guys that just quit drinking years ago. Richard probably hadn't drank in, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. But he just quit. Hey, I'm done. And he was messing with me yesterday. We were talking, and he said, hey, I heard you got that podcast. Let me get on there. I don't drink no more. And I said, man, we got like 30 countries that listen to us, and you would offend every single one of them. We would have nobody listening because he is the most unpolitically correct person.
Who's
He's
this?
funny. The guy we work with, Richard, that we
Big
fish
Richard.
with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is this the
Yeah.
fishing dude? What's his
Yes.
nickname?
Big Richard. Think about that
Oh.
for a little while. So
Big Richard's Almanac.
Oh.
yeah. So there you go.
Oh, I just got it.
Hey,
Sound it
I'm a
out.
little slow today.
We understand.
I've been hearing this for 2 or 3 days, and I just catch on.
But it's funny to see him and Bobby
Gross.
because
How do y'all
Bobby's
do
a
that?
man of few words, whereas Richard is a man of a lot of words, and he talks constantly. And so the two of them, it's a lot of fun watching my sponsor just stare at him.
Sobriety is fun.
It is.
And I remember that panic surging over
Yeah.
me. Like, what am I going to do? Just sit there and just be miserable? That's how I literally saw myself, like sitting on the couch, just being angry. Because I didn't realize that it was just, I would have to take care of the anger and all the other things, and just everything would be miserable.
Right. The big thing, the first few times I tried to get sober before I actually started working the program, I would sit there and stew. I would think, how does anybody stay at a party for like 2 hours? We used to do this for like 12 hours. And I would think, gosh, what do you do the whole time? What's everybody doing if they don't drink? Nothing. They're sitting here like me. But I was wrong. A lot of times I was thinking that people were not drinking because they were having fun, or that they were drinking because they were having fun. It really was irrelevant. Some people were having fun because they knew how to do it. I did not. And so it took a while for me to retrain everything and find out, just how to do it.
Yeah, it does, and I think our natural Jill can probably do the correct terminology, medical part of this. It took that have fun, enjoy, laugh, all that stuff in your brain. It took me a little while to naturally get back to where I would do that. Like I used to, I think it was kind of the anxiety tied in with like a social thing. And so now I don't think about it. I'm just act a fool everywhere I'm at. So,
Yeah. It did take a while to, I guess, get to my baseline, or finding me. And because it was all just so associated with drugs and alcohol, like finding what I like to do and learning how to love me and like me and have fun. I mean,
And what's odd is, like, especially if you start drinking, Jill, you probably much younger than us when you started, or me anyway, and I know Matt, but you probably had to grow up and out, if that makes any sense.
No,
like, you had to find you and then catch up emotionally to where you were in age.
that was a big thing.
I'm still trying to catch up to it.
I can't say that. I mean, I'm mature, but I mean, I think I'm a spirited young lass.
Yeah. Let me ask you
where did
this.
that come from?
Yeah, using words out of Mary Poppins. Sure.
But it's if you look like you look in the rooms, okay, and you watch people come in, and I like to watch people, and you see folks when they first come in, it's nervous, head down.
Oh my gosh!
Don't talk to me.
I mean, socially
Like,
inept. I mean, I was at
and
least.
I had somebody reach out the other day, and they are friends with another person, and they want to get sober, and they're having a hard time. And they said, I just don't do the AA, the social thing. I have anxiety. And I went, welcome to every damn body that comes in there.
Right.
That's just part of it. But if you look around, like we were sitting there today, we're laughing and clowning before the meeting started.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, we laugh and joke, and it's just no big deal. But you see the growth and the improvement in people just as a whole, the ease that you're around
Poise,
folks.
too. Poise. I love
Yeah,
that.
and I don't think it like what Mike was saying
Mike.
was
It's okay.
necessarily like maturity in that level. It's emotional maturity, and I didn't have that at all. My go-to was always panic. Always panic. It was always to run. It was to avoid and just not face anything. And I had to learn that, but also had to learn like how to cope with life, period. Because I didn't know how as a young very young, I mean, before I was a teenager, that was my go-to. So anything upset me, anything made me happy, any emotion period was me to go use. And so I didn't even know how to like just be, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
No,
Just sit with
I get
it.
it.
I'd been running for so many decades and I'd had panic attacks and panic disorder for so long. And just all I did was just take my Xanax. And I had no coping skills. And there was a lot that I had to learn about myself and how the world works. Because I'd like to say I wasn't naive, but I was enabled and delusional in the fact that like you have to work to have a bank account, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like and I just, it was childish in that sense, because I was very much a child. I was still coming to Dad and saying, Dad, I need this, and that's not
So you have to grow into yourself.
yeah.
You have to become.
Well, I had to find myself.
And
like,
I think the growth part too is just thinking about it. When you walk down that hallway the first time, there's all these people in the room, and you're like, I'm going
Well,
here with a bunch of
Now,
weirdos. And
some of this doesn't necessarily lend itself only to the program of Alcoholics
Sure.
Anonymous.
No, you're
If
right.
I'm a new guy in a classroom at college, I'm probably not going to be as apt to raise my hand unless I have one of those personalities.
yeah.
Or the new kid in the kindergarten for the first time. You know, you walk into AA and I walked into AA and thought everybody had their stuff together, man. I was like, all these people.
Doesn't it seem
those
like it,
people
though?
made it before I did,
Right.
Man, they're going to work on me, and then we'll work on the next guy that walks in. And yeah, come to find out, like 5 or other people had walked in that same day, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think another thing is we talk about that I talk about with clients is, you know, finding your identity, because I didn't have one. I mean, it's like I had one, but
it was suspended.
I just didn't. Well, I had to like
kind of like my driver's license, a couple of flags.
I didn't know who I was, what I liked. To me,
Yeah.
what I liked was just just sit around and smoke marijuana and drink beer, and those were my hobbies.
Yeah, sounds like everybody in the
It's
70s.
America. All of America.
Welcome to 1970s
Schlitz and,
America.
Now we have the weird hobbies, not doing that. So
Well, yeah. I mean, there's
So,
so much.
Let me ask you this about a couple of things. Number one, anybody really that wants to answer. So, can somebody smoke just one joint?
Sure.
I mean, like a regular size. I don't know what normal is on that, but
So what do you mean by that?
well, I can't
Like
take just
recreation-
one drink.
Yeah, there's people that can drink recreationally.
No, I mean, I know that.
Oh,
she
okay.
means one of us.
We don't know them.
Oh, yeah.
They don't hang out in this
I don't-
particular room.
Here-
I
You know-
don't know any that.
But I mean,
You're
it's
talking
like,
about,
is
like,
there
stopping the-
Is there a phenomenon of craving when it comes to marijuana?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Here's my quick answer to that. I've had a bunch of guys ask me that same question. This is my personal, the way I am.
Yeah, we get it.
If I did that, my brain would say, you know what would go good with this marijuana? Some cocaine. That's my brain. It's let's step up a notch from what we're doing. It's not, I can just keep doing this. I can't do that. So
It all has to do with, triggers and things like that. I mean, every morning when I wake up, I get up and I, think, what's the first thing you think about when you wake up? Oh God, keep it G-rated. Just kidding.
Me? What's the first thing I think about?
Yeah.
I just think I'm broke.
No, I mean, like, no, you get up and you start the day. I'm going to want some coffee.
That is not the first thing I think about.
Okay, well, close to it.
Okay.
Sorry, Mike. Do you drink coffee?
Yeah.
I knew that. But anyway,
A lot.
I
By the
know
truckload.
this. I've made you plenty of cups of coffee. But, I mean, that's the first thing we think about, or some bad news happens. It's like, oh, gosh, how am I going to deal with this? It's all about triggers. And then once you start using, that substance, what happens and when you stop using it is, well, the effect goes away and you start to get anxiety. And it happens with all substances. And
Makes
that
sense.
starts a craving. people ignore that and they like to say, "Oh, hey, I don't get triggered and I don't have cravings. I just smoke it because I like it." But you're not paying attention to the cues that are going on in your body. I'm talking about like physical cues. You're not paying attention to the cognitive cues, what's going on in your head. Stuff like, what would be good right now? A joint. And you could be doing something just laid back. You don't think about like the emotional cues either. Which could be, maybe a hint of sadness or some guilt or some shame.
Hint of sadness. That'd be a really good song.
Well, you don't have to be depressed to want to smoke a marijuana. To smoke.
Sounds like somebody smoked a little bit before they got here.
I sound like I was on like Reefer Madness or something. Smoke a marijuana.
Didn't that movie they said you like jump out of windows and stuff?
Now, where I'm going with it is we get into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and one of the first things we hear about, we read the doctor's opinion. It's at the very front of the big book, right past the forwards, and it's one of those things that makes sense, right? And it talks about the phenomenon of craving.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol, and although it may be injurious, blah, blah, blah. So, does marijuana have that same effect? Does it have like a...
Yes, it does.
Because it's just like alcohol. If I drink alcohol, I don't even care if it's beer. I'm just going to keep going. I just keep going and going until my brain shuts down, and then I fall asleep.
Yeah, marijuana definitely has that same effect.
Does it?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I just want I just wanted to stay high. I mean, I loved the feeling; it felt good, and I just want to stay this way.
Okay.
But just like with any substance out there, including sugar and all kinds of stuff, we
Chips.
want more of it.
Chips. Like even Lay's says, you're going to get the phenomenon of craving.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Right.
basically, no one can eat just one.
And if we think about our life, that's what we have to do. And like as you go down the road, we were talking about the finances and stuff the other day. Even people quit drinking and they start gambling, or they start whatever they do, overeating food.
Sugar.
Sugar. So the name of the game for us is we're changing the way we feel one way or another, and we have to be on top of that, and
Shopping.
Shopping, yeah,
is
it isn't
another.
healthy,
Buying
So
podcast equipment.
that's
Hunting, fishing.
yeah, hunting
Yeah,
and
there's
fishing.
there's so
That's a good one, too.
I perfect example. I went through a divorce. Okay, I had a little
Divorcing?
boat. Yeah, that hopefully I'm never addicted to. That was terrible. But went through a divorce and had a little boat, and so I'm kind of jacked up. It wasn't a lot of fun, and I was going every afternoon after work, and I would get out there sometimes and just sit there. I wasn't even fishing, and I went, "Is this healthy? Like, am I just avoiding not dealing with stuff?" And like I literally evaluated fishing, and I have to do that, and I can do it. I promise you, I can disappear and lose my job over fishing. That's how I
I had an
roll.
uncle like that once.
Well, and if you think about it, I
Did he
mean, like there's
disappear?
just things that happen.
Go fishing.
It's getting to know the things that happen in your daily life that make you think, I need to go fishing, or I need to smoke a J, or I need to drink.
Smoke a marijuana.
I can't stop.
We got to smoke a marijuana.
Compulsive exercising
Well,
on live. Somebody
we
just
have to
brought up.
look at what that.
Compulsive exercising.
Yes, that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing for
One of our friends
Some
on there
people.
said
with a lot of
Mandeville
people
buddy.
that have eating disorders, and it's our thought patterns that we have to watch out for, and recognizing those, being aware of them, so that we can change them and replace it with something new and something healthy. Whereas I used to go to drugs and alcohol for everything, I don't now. I have a sponsor. I have, I have meetings. I have you guys. I can go play tennis. I can do a lot. I can go hang out with Chunk and Bud. I have a lot, work out in the farm. There's so many things that I've replaced it with now. And, I remember, and I've talked about it before, like I wasn't sure if those would go away, the cravings. I mean, it scared the hell out of me. How am I supposed to stay sober if I'm going to have cravings? That's crazy.
So, Sig, have you ever had sober? Have you had sober?
Finally.
So, two questions for Sig, right quick. Number one, where did the name Sig come from?
Oh, okay. It's actually baby talk. My name is Sarah Margaret, and I tried to say that when I was just a few months old, and I said Sigaboggett. And so my cousins started calling me Siggy, and it ended up just sticking.
I just
So
really like it.
I went all the way through school being Sig
Really?
and everything, yes.
Yes, but I kind of like Sigabotham.
Sigaboggett, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sigaboggett.
Sigaboggett?
Boggett, like,
Yeah.
it's Margaret. It's Margaret.
It's
Boggett.
baby talk for Margaret. Okay.
Yeah,
I like
So
Sigaboggett.
that's a name that went on for your whole life. That's
My
not something
whole
that
life.
thought maybe it was just a type of weapon.
That's what I tell
a
people.
Sigourney.
Sigourney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sigourney?
That's I only know the one. But hey, who knows?
Only
man.
one.
But that's where it originated.
Okay.
Okay.
And number two, have you ever experienced the phenomenon of craving?
Oh my Lord, yes. As a child, the first time I ever noticed it was with candy. And, we didn't have a lot of sweets at our house. We really didn't, because my dad was a doctor and he had a little bit of a tendency to gain weight, so we didn't want to have it around. But then ever so often we'd buy $1 almond bars and all of those things. And we'd just buy the whole package and have them there to give to people, you understand?
Right.
Give them away. And I'd find out I was eating a bunch of them. And that's the first time I ever noticed it. I didn't really think about that too much until after I got free from alcohol. And I started thinking, oh, wait, this goes back a little further than I was thinking. And yes, so those cravings started early with me.
I've actually read or something on some kind of social media or whatever, that the original, and this is not fact, nobody needs to fact check me, I just heard it, but the original addiction was salt.
I can believe that.
I heard that the original addiction was salt, and I'm kind of like, I don't consume sugar, and I tell people that all the time. I don't. And every time you tell somebody that, they want to give you a speech about how bad Sweet and Low is and all this other, whatever. I'm like, you have no idea what I've dumped in this body. Trust me, a little packet of Sweet and Lows, the least of my worries,
Right.
And then I just snort that Sweet and Low right. No, I don't.
Oh, I was like,
But,
good Lord, Mike.
But I don't consume sugar. And if you've ever been to an intergroup, you'll notice that's like, okay, it's intergroup. I'm going to allow myself a piece of sugar or
Get wild.
a cookie. And before you know it, I've eaten every cookie there on the plate.
That's what it
Don't
does to me.
put a cookie in front of Mike.
I'll buy 2 or 3 boxes of Little Debbie on the way home, and a
Yep.
thing of ice cream, and then wake up the next day at 10 o'clock with, bags of Snickers everywhere. I mean, it's just the phenomenon of craving with candy is just amazing with
It
me.
is. And you're not alone, because I remember my first nighttime thing that I attended for AA. I went there and, I went to kind of spiff up the dessert table, get everything ready, make sure we had enough spoons. And then I saw people coming through, and they'd dish up a little bit of meat and stuff on their plate, and then they'd get like 5 desserts.
Yeah, I try
And I
to
was
partake
like,
in all
oh
of them.
my goodness. So I knew I was not the only one to have that particular malady.
Yeah. So yesterday was my 52nd birthday. I turned 52 for real yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
The stars just had to align because it was actually also 5,000 days of sobriety. So,
Hey.
which is only, but it's like 13 years, 8 months, so many days. But it just happened to be 5,000 on the day I turned 52, which is weird, but it was pretty cool.
great.
Fun fact.
It's great.
But they bought my crew at work. I came to town yesterday to take care of some stuff, and my crew at work had bought me a only bunt cake, and it was like covered with like this white vanilla cream cheese type icing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
They were wonderful. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, but
And-
I don't think it's only. It's,
well, it was just called bunt cake or something.
what are those bundt cakes called?
Yeah, I
Bundt
can't
cake.
remember.
Well, I'll put a picture in the show notes. So anyway, but the presentation was beautiful. It had a little hat on it and all this stuff. And I ate almost the whole cake.
Mike, that doesn't shock me because I've
Almost-
seen you with cookies.
And it made me very sleepy when I almost made it to Shreveport. I was really, the sugar crack, but I just couldn't, man, I was like, once I had it, it was it.
I'm the same way.
But it's just like, but this is where my point is. It's kind of like alcohol. I reached a point where I said, I've already had it. I might as well keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's the
oh,
thing.
for sure.
That's the thing.
And, whatever. I'm not going to gain weight from this one. This is not going to be the one that causes me to lose
But it's the
everything.
one that leads you to all the other ones. I mean, I've
Correct.
ate enough, and I've tried to diet, and I've done the keto, and then that first, and I lose
Tortilla
like
chip.
20 pounds, and I'll have like, you know what? I'm gonna have this piece of whatever. I pat myself on the back, and that's where it all ends immediately.
Well, the first one's the one that gets you.
Exactly.
It is.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm going through that in a bit with food. I just cut out a lot of things in my diet 'cause I'm having some pretty bad stomach issues. And I mean, it's coffee, fried foods, processed foods, gluten, dairy, just to name, all of them.
That's just about every food there is. So basically, you're going to eat meat.
I'm irritable, restless, and discontent right now. I really want something to comfort me. And so my comfort foods are out. I can't have macaroni and pizza.
Isn't it wild how we learn to identify that though in this program? Like we're talking about eating stuff, we're talking about shopping. It's all the same. We learn to look at ourselves and go, oh, this ain't healthy either.
Yeah.
Forget the alcohol and other stuff. And even with fishing, I had to learn to go, this is healthy. It's something that I do as part of my sobriety that I enjoy doing, and it replaces some of the bad stuff I used to do. But at the same time, I have to be spiritually fit to do anything,
You're
even
right.
fishing.
That's the key, right?
Even
there.
fishing.
It is.
And if I can go out there and enjoy it, I do it with my sponsor a lot. We talk about stuff. That's a great place to do that. We have our own pace to
It
it.
is.
It's
It is
never
a
a
good
big rush to get in anything, but that's healthy for me. And I come home, I'm relaxed, I'm ready to almost like re-energize. But I've had, like I said, going through that divorce, I would go out there and so mad on the way to the lake and madder when I left, because it was just more of a thing of like, I have to, I don't know, there was something there. It was just like, I've got to do something to stop the way I feel. And that didn't stop the way I felt. It made me worse, actually.
So we just talked about like a possible solution for
what?
For the phenomenon of craving. It's a spiritual, it's a spiritual matter. I mean,
So abstinence.
I don't think that. I think it's way bigger than that.
Okay.
I know that, like I said, I remember sitting there and thinking I can't do this, and I prayed for it, and I haven't had cravings since. Like I just don't have cravings.
For drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, for drugs and alcohol, and that was one of my biggest miracles because I really, really needed that. A lot of people struggle with it for many years into recovery, or still, even struggle with it later on in recovery. So I think for me it was a spiritual matter, but it's also a sick and tired, like just like an exhaustion matter.
And there is a level of beatdown that I had to take. I can't say somebody's going to have to take because I don't know what, but there's a level of beatdown I had to take though before I would listen to any of that.
Right.
Like it just, you could tell me that it was a spiritual malady or, and I would talk to people and say, I mean, I've tried everything to get sober. I've tried everything to get sober. And it came to a point where I had to quit trying and I had to start doing. Mm-hmm. I had to do what people before me had done that worked. And in other words, they said, okay, go do this, as silly as it may sound. If I'm struggling to get sober and I got that right beat down, and unfortunately, some folks find that beat down when they wake up in prison after harming someone or hurting a family or, whatever, right? And then some of it find it after something good, like a divorce or something. But you take a beat down, and then you go to somebody and say, I'm tired of trying. I need to start doing.
Yeah.
And that's where I was anyway. I had to stop. I had to go, if you say check myself in a rehab, check myself in a rehab. If you say live in a recovery house, I go live in a recovery house. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm gonna have to do, because whatever I'm doing ain't working.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in recovery think it's just going to magically happen,
Yeah, and it
or wishful thinking, or
well,
like it took, like I said, it took action. It just wasn't something that just happened. I mean, I still stayed in the program and did the things I needed to do, work the steps, and
Well, and you can't hold on to it unless it's an internal job. Like you can be in the rehab and not have access to whatever it is that you're addicted to. And then you'll say, well, I'm free. But then you get out. And if you haven't had that internal change, then you're just going to go right back to it.
And I think that's what a lot of people do. You're exactly right. I mean, rehab, I think a lot of people think rehab is go to rehab and they wave this magic wand and you're free 30 days later. Never mess with it again. Couldn't be further from the truth. And it's a lifetime of work.
if it was like that, it'd be pretty cool.
It would be awesome. It'd be awesome.
cured.
But we still work at it. You guys are a long way ahead of me in sobriety. Y'all still work at it. Mike and I sat at a new meeting today. He's 52. He's old. I mean, he's real old, and he still goes to meetings. He's 5,000 days sober.
That's true.
But I look and I see the people doing these things, and I go, especially early on, and that's what I was going to ask you about real early on when you first started. My sponsor said, you need to pray every morning. I don't know what to pray. I've never prayed since I was in vacation Bible school. And so I said, what am I supposed to pray? And he said, just ask God to keep you sober. And my prayers were driving to work. I've told this before. This sucks. I'm looking up at the ceiling like to see if somebody,
If he's sitting there.
but I was praying. And so that started. And I would get to the end of that day after leaving the Koala Club, and I would get home that night and I went, dude, you didn't use or drink today.
All day long.
And I didn't feel real good. I wasn't too happy about it, but I was happy that, okay, there's something here. And it kept building from that. How was that for you, like real early on?
Well, I did like 3 rounds. The first time that I came, I thought, oh yeah, I've got this. All you have to do is believe in a power greater than yourself and that he can handle it. And I do. And yeah, I've got this. And so I went home and I'd use self-control and go for a while without drinking. And then all of a sudden I would just get hammered. Mm-hmm. And then this is just terrible. I got to do good again. And so I'd say my prayers and try to get good again. And I would. And then natural strength, I'd end up getting hammered again. So I tried that for a while. I wasn't wanting to do everything that was recommended, just the parts that pertained to me, things that made sense to me. Eventually, when I came back time 3, I did like you. I mean, I hit the floor with my knees and I said, I cannot do this. I need to have like a miracle to take away this craving from me, at least until I can stand on my own 2 feet. I can't do it at all. I'm just asking for a miracle. And if you can do that for me, God, I will do everything they recommend, even the parts that don't sound very good. Talking to a sponsor and telling her all the terrible things I've done, I'll do it all. Mm-hmm. And I got up and I never had the craving again for alcohol. Now, cookies, I still have a problem with cookies. But alcohol, it was gone then, kind of like you said.
Yeah.
That craving left me. That's really a supernatural thing. I don't think you can explain that.
Man, it has to be to
any
me.
other way.
That's like, it was weird. People would be like, just do this and then this will happen.
Yeah.
And I did that and it really happened.
And it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a index card with the 5 things to do every day on my deal. And I was like, this ain't going to work. I mean, and I hope somebody's listening that says, I'm on the fence with this deal, because I was the definition of on the fence. I was like, they don't understand me.
Yep.
It's not going to work. These little things you're telling me to do, I'll blow right through that. Guess what? I didn't.
You're right.
And the prayer, don't think, hey, I'm not Billy Graham. I'm not real good at praying. You can't pray any worse than me. I cussed in prayers, okay? That's how I talk. I talk just like I'm talking now, and it grew from there. And the miracle was I went 24 hours and didn't drink and use. And as that built, I went, oh, this is a miracle. This is actually a miracle. And I'm seeing it, you know? So,
And we see a miracle in you, man.
yeah, miracle grow,
Every
maybe.
day.
Need some miracle growth on that hair. bro.
Fertilizer. Hey, don't be hating, bro.
Nah.
That thing pretty today.
Yeah, no, I can't.
I'm on live. I had 3 people had to put shades on. So
I can't do the whole shave thing, man. Not on my
I
head.
have to now. It's just,
Yeah,
yeah.
my hat won't stay on.
Well,
Really?
I think part of the deal with cravings is to, try to alleviate the triggers that cause you to crave, which means what everybody's been told in this room is to change people, places, and things. And that's really difficult to do, and not a lot of people want to do that. So, of course, they blame who? They blame maybe the programming or whatever because it didn't work for me, but you didn't do anything to change what's going on in your life. If I still had the same stressors as I had before, maybe I would. If I still was just not doing, like I said, we get taught so many things in recovery and coping skills and, avoid people, change your friends, change where you used to hang out. Like I don't go to a lot of places. I don't go to a majority of the places I used to go because of the fact that it's dangerous. It could cause a craving. And the thing is, like, it's not just people, places, and things. There's internal triggers. There's external triggers. There is, pain itself. People want to escape that. There's just so much out there. I mean, there's also, sensory triggers. We can smell things that make us want to drink or use. We can see things, movies, music. I mean, it's everywhere. And people don't realize the power that those things have over them that induce the phenomenon of craving that will get all of us if we don't change what we do.
I rarely have any type of like trigger things or whatever, and I'm like you. My lifestyle has changed to where I'm not in those places anymore. I'm not in like a lot of the stuff I used to hang around. I'm not around anymore. But we were watching. This is true story. We were watching that movie A Star Is Born with Bradley Cooper and
movie.
yeah.
Movie.
So he struggles with addiction and all that. But there's a split second. It's 2 seconds in that movie where he's pretty messed up, and he sits back on a couch and he had his hat on and his head just drops like that. Man, it sent chills because I know that feeling with that head dropping. Of all things, I was just like, oh, that was so weird. And I was several years sober, and I was just like, I could identify with why his head was dropping the way. I don't know. So weird, but
It
You
happened
kind of
with
feel it too.
Yeah, you
when it
can.
happens, when you watch them, it's like, oh.
it brought that
Yeah.
same just so messed up you can't hold your head up feeling,
I tried watching Fear and Loathing in Las
yeah.
Vegas, and I mean, I
Leaving
literally,
Las Vegas was tough.
huh?
Leaving
Oh,
Las-
that's a rough movie.
Fear and
Loathing
But
with Hunter S.
Fear and
Thompson.
Loathing, it made me feel weird. Maybe remember what it felt like tripping, and I was like, "Ah," and I was like, turn that off.
Hunter S. Thompson.
I can't watch this.
That guy was a
well,
legend. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me. I got a little story about this. And number one is, if you're on a motorcycle, there is one little strip in Arlington, Texas, about a mile long, that you can smell every restaurant there. Talk about going to places, right? You can smell it, and you automatically, you might have just ate, and you automatically start craving food. Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we have to change the places. Right.
I agreed.
The play, and I ain't saying don't go down that strip in Arlington if you want to eat. I'm saying that is how our
aware.
our humanity. That's just how we are. These things attract us to whatever it is that make us feel better, right?
Exactly.
And food is a need, not necessarily that much. I usually eat 3 or 4 baskets of chips before the food ever gets there. But that is a big one. But I was probably, and I don't remember. I looked this up for someone the other day. I'm going to say right at a year, maybe a year and a half sober. And my son wanted to go see 21 Jump Street, the remake with Tatum Channing and Jonah Hill. And so, and several other people were in that movie. But we go see this movie, and this really happened. There was a part in this movie where they're taking shots right? And it's like 5 or 6. And, you know, if y'all don't know the movie, it's where these two grown men pretend to be cops. And it was a remake of an old 80s show, 21 Jump Street with Johnny Depp.
Don't they go to high school?
They went to high school, but they were at this party with these kids and they were taking shots. And I was sitting there watching them take these shots. And I'm a year sober. I'm still in the really real scared zone. And I could feel it, man. I could feel my throat get hot. I could feel my chest get hot. And I was just starting to drift off into an area that I did not need to be. And I could not take my eyes off the screen. And then all of a sudden, the theater goes black right there in that scene. The theater went completely black. And about 10 minutes later, the usher, the employee at the movie theater, came out and said that lightning had hit something by the theater and that the movie was not going to be able to continue.
Whoa.
They
That's
would issue
a wow.
Yeah.
They would issue refunds at the gate if we needed them. And my son, who he might not even admit it now, but was terrified of me going back out. Just he's had this dad for a year now. Like, this is the dad I want. I don't want whatever I had before. And so I didn't even get a refund. I was just like, come on, let's go.
Let's get out of here.
Let's go do
I hear
something
you.
you like to do, and we'll work on that. I did not actually watch that entire movie till I was about 4 years sober.
Okay.
And physically, spiritually fit to watch that. I knew what was coming, and when it got to that part, I wouldn't entertain it more than the movie desired for a human being to entertain it, right?
Right.
But that is probably, and then Leaving Las Vegas is a movie where the only time I've ever seen anyone who drank like me, because that's how I drank. Where he goes to the shower in this movie, and he wakes up after a long bout of being out, and he goes. This is Nicolas Cage. He goes to a shower and he grabs a fifth and he just drinks the fifth. And after he drinks the fifth, he's like, oh yeah, now I can eat. And he goes and sits at a table and she fixes him some rice or something. And that movie actually made me cry.
Oh, of course. It made me cry too.
You know, I mean, like Old Yeller didn't make me cry, but that movie actually made me.
Old
It
Yeller
made me
did
sob.
make me cry.
It
Yeah, I
wasn't
did
just
cry. I
crying, it was
cried.
sobbing.
Every time.
Old Yeller or
No.
I've only seen Old Yeller, but
Leaving Las
I
Vegas.
cry every time.
I'm sure. I mean, right now, I feel like I'd cry at anything right now. But
Well, I actually own the movie. I bought it and put it in my Apple library.
Yeah.
So that if someone I ever comes into my life, you know, just like Matt came into my life, 4 or 5 years ago, and if they have never seen it, I'd be like, hey, let's watch it. Come on, I'll show you. And that's how I used to drink right
Like,
there.
there's me.
Like, it's just unreal. Like all the time. Even when I wasn't drinking, I was drinking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's a pretty rough deal there.
It is. What I wanted to also mention as far as like cravings go, you know, there's an event.
Yes.
There will always be an event. The
Mardi
event.
Gras?
Well, okay, so that's
For some
happening
people,
right
yeah.
now, and the thought goes, the next thing would be your thought. What would be a thought about Mardi Gras?
King cake. They have them across the street.
Well, or you know, let's go down to New Orleans and party.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
mean-
most youngsters think.
Yeah,
Really.
well, and so the thought happens, then the feeling happens, and maybe it's excitement, maybe it's dread. I don't know. There's so many things that happen when a relapse is about to happen.
Oh, yes.
But you may start feeling warm and fuzzy. You may have a euphoric recall. You are like full up in it. You are thinking about
big
how you're
words,
going to
man.
feel, you know, with the burning in your chest or whatever that may be, which leads to the last thing, which is the action. And so if we can catch ourselves at the thought, and that's where we're supposed to stop that, or, you know, do whatever we can to keep it from progressing to the feeling and the action, because that is where, you know, we get busted out, you know, busted up in the whole deal. You know, and the thing is, like, okay, what do you do when that thought happens? Well, I'm going to call my spine. I mean, like, you have to do something quick before you spin out.
So I actually went in sobriety with somebody that had never been to Mardi Gras ever in their life, and they wanted to go. It was like a bucket list thing.
Are they from here?
The area. This
Okay.
was a couple years ago, and so I was like, and I was 5 years sober, 4 years maybe.
It's
And I
4 years. 4 years sober. I remember this.
4 years, yeah. And so we went Mardi Gras this weekend of Mardi Gras, like the big ending weekend. And we went, and I mean, it was a culture shock for this person. Had a great time, walked right through the whole crowded thing, Bourbon Street and all that, checked it out. It was fine. I had some family that was in a part of a parade there, so we hooked up with them, and everything was great. Enjoyed it. This person didn't drink or anything like that, but not one of us. But I think we drank coffee, and so we leave and we go back to the North Shore, and we go stop in, and we stop in Madisonville to eat on the river right there at a restaurant.
Morton's.
Yes,
I love
exactly where we were sitting.
Me too.
But we go in Morton's and we're sitting down eating. I never had one problem all day. I had a great time at Mardi Gras. People are doing what they do. And it was funny watching somebody who's never been there. She goes, "Are those two people having sex?" I'm like, "Yes, they are. Just keep walking." It was actually very fun. We had a good time.
I love Morton's.
And so we go back to Morton's. We're sitting there having dinner that night. And it's an old Cajun place. There's a bar. It's a nice restaurant.
What's the name of it?
Morton's?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the other place.
No. So we're having dinner. And I look at a guy sitting at a bar, and he's watching a ball game. He's sitting up at the bar with a drink. And he's just sitting there watching the game. And this person's talking, and I'm sitting there watching him. Hadn't had a thought all day of anything to do with alcohol, and in my brain went, "I wish I could do that. Like this would be the kind of place I would sit."
Yep, and there it is.
And then, but
Maybe
that's
one
what you
day.
just said.
I always think that maybe one day I can do that,
Yep.
and I know for a fact I can't do that.
And then that's.
But that
what are you
thought.
going to do with that?
So
moment?
here's what I did.
Yeah.
And here's where I do. I know that people value their privacy and their all these things in this program. For me, it had to be a full court press. There's a whole village around me. Okay, it's like Frank the Tank. We don't want him getting loose,
Right.
So everybody around me knows that I struggle with that or that I deal with it, including this person that I went to Mardi Gras with. And so I immediately looked at the person talking, and I said, "Here's what's so weird." And I just started telling them. We talked about it for a few minutes, went on, never had another thought. But everybody in my life, other than maybe the kids, they know what's going on. So I don't have a problem going, "Yeah, this is weird." Went to a wedding down there, big party, big dancing and all that. Got to the after thing, fantastic event. They spent a pile of money, open bar. These people are having a blast, bands and all that stuff. I ate a plate and went, "This ain't my part. This ain't my deal right here." Out the door I went. I was in my hotel by 9. Love all of them. I wasn't ready. I just couldn't do it that night,
right.
And so it just, but even the family that was there, I said, "Hey, I'm going to my room." Didn't have to make a big deal. Off
Yeah.
I went,
Yeah.
no worries. So, and never gave it another thought. Once I got out of there and moved a muscle, changed the thought.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was headed out.
And that's
so,
a good. I was going to come to that point. Move a muscle, change a thought, because that really can do something.
It can.
Even if we don't want to do whatever it is, it can it can change everything.
And I love to Mardi Gras was like my type of thing, outdoor concerts. I love that kind of stuff. And normally you would think that would be a big triggering thing to be down there in the music and the bars. Not at all. Like I never, but then I go sit down and eat dinner and there's 20 people and the guy sitting up there having a drink. That bothers
Yeah,
me.
you're probably exhausted, and you thought, you know what? Sitting back and relaxing,
It'd be so nice
drinking that
about
beer,
now. Yeah.
just chilling,
Yep. So
winding down for
but
the
that's
night.
but that's just real life, and like the person that was with me didn't really know a lot about recovery, and they said, "What do you do in that situation?" And I said, "Welcome to the life of a recovering alcoholic. It just happens." And so I said, "I'm telling you about it, and we're gonna go on with what we're doing."
Get it
And
out
we
in
ate
the
dinner.
open.
Yeah, and really wasn't. It was a 5-minute deal, and it was done. So.
Well, what some people may not know is that if you sit on that, I mean, it stays in your brain and it magnifies and
Yes.
and you sit on it and it just becomes something way bigger
I'm on
than it ever
live,
was.
so everybody's listening to us. And Amy said, romanticizing the idea. We start romanticizing,
Glorifying,
Yep,
glamorizing.
So
Romanticizing. That sounds like a
Romanticizing.
word
Yeah.
Amy would use.
yes, she did, and she, and it's we can let that fester, you know, instead of immediately, my buddy Chris, he said immediately addressing it. And that's what we're talking about. It's like, hey man, you know, and you know, and I think it all comes together so good because.
And real quick, because I'll forget this, but you might have that thought and be ashamed to tell one of your alcoholic buddies that you're hanging around with that you have it because you are so embedded in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, or people think you're and not tell nobody, and that thing will start growing. Just tell.
That's the thing. It'll start growing if you keep it secret.
That is right.
Not good.
Grow it.
Yeah, I
Open it up.
But
and also that's that's also enforcing what shame, and some other negative feelings that could again turn into actions.
But I'm so grateful, and I've talked about you two guys before, but I'm so grateful for my group of people and my AA people in general, but where I go to meetings at and go to a few different ones, but folks in there that have a lot more sobriety than me, they'll come in and they go, hey, life is great. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And sometimes they walk in there and say, today ain't been a great day.
Yeah.
I've struggled a little bit. And I go, these are my people.
Yep.
Like, because I struggle. I have times where I'm just like, screw it, you know, but I go sit in a chair and then somebody's been sober twice as long as me and they work a really good program. And they go, yeah, I did that too. And, you know, and I go, oh, this is just part of this deal, you know? And so my sponsor always says, welcome to the life of a recovering alcoholic. So,
We
just
now
do the
have a
best we
listener in Belize.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
Yeah,
Hi.
we have one more country to add to the list.
Nice.
It's pretty cool. Belize. If you're ever there,
I want to go there, like
I
right
want-
now.
It's nice.
one of my associates is from Belize. Her whole family is in Belize. So, you know, and I don't think she's the one that pulled it up because she's not been there. But somebody in Belize is listening to our show.
Wow.
So we're up to 31 countries.
Wow.
And I don't know how many there are, but you know, somewhere in there. So, we've taken on the whole Western.
Yeah, we're attacking. I mean, we're attacking.
Taking the
you know?
world by storm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks in China, and not one of them listen to us.
Well, it's my accent throws them off. You know, they can't deal with it.
Yeah, they probably like, what the hell are they saying?
Yeah, but you know, that's just the way our life is. And I thought they're going to give me a brain transplant, so then I'll never have the thought about alcohol or drugs again. That's not true. I pulled up at a stop sign, a red light the other day, and some kid was smoking pot, and I could smell it from 2 cars away, and I was like, "Man, that smells good," and I just kept on driving. That's just life, you know.
I'll tell you now, you driving through Dallas, there's the strip where you smell nothing but restaurants, but the rest of it smells nothing but pot.
Pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, just about everywhere you go now smells like pot.
Especially out that way, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, talking about it, my friend Chris Muse is on here, and we went to high school together at Mandeville, and you know, that talking about it, we put it out in the open, and there's no more mind games. That cunning, baffling, powerful. That's what happens when we sit on it. Then our mind starts clicking, and it's, well, maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe I should. Well, that's just not how I got sober. I got sober by blurting it out and going,
Right.
I'm not okay right now,
too.
and we have to stay in that routine to go, you know. I had times where it was new people and I was like, I wonder if I should say if I'm having a real crappy day, because I'm having one and I don't want a new person to hear that. And Jill came in right when she's like, I'm going to just tell you. And I was like, oh, okay, it's okay to say that then. So
She was trying to put a thought together when she got here, and then like once it opened up,
Hey.
thoughts just rolled out.
that's right. That's right.
So, that's prime example of what you got to do when
Yeah.
you're trying to put a thought
Yeah.
together. Just
Hey,
put it together.
Fake it
man.
till you make it. Just kidding. I definitely wasn't one of those.
Fake it till you make it.
No.
I
Everybody knew.
I have heard both sides of that spectrum. I've heard old timers say, "Fake it till you make it," you know, as some guidance.
Yeah.
And I've heard old timers say, "Fake it till you make it" is the worst thing you could possibly do. I've heard both sides
I
of
think
that.
it's disingenuous.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you go in a room in a group and you hear ladies, men, old, young, all kind of backgrounds, all kind of things, and you hear struggling, you hear success, and it can interchange in any of those people at any time. And that's what I identified with immediately was the real of everybody.
That's exactly right.
And
Real.
and I can do real all day. I can't do fake. I can't do. If you're real, you can come in there every day. And we have a friend that came in there and was really struggling with some stuff, and I bet she cried at every meeting for a year and a half. And you know what? Just keep crying. As long as you keep sitting in that chair,
As long as you need to.
and
keep
and
on.
as long as you need to do that, and I can deal with that kind of stuff, you know. So, how was it for you coming in the rooms and being around people? Like, what did you think of that, or was that a help to you? Or
It was a lot of help to me, but do you know, at first I was so hurt that I would just cry the entire time. I guess for the first year I did. And someone would say something that was real sad, and I would just cry. Someone would say something that was ugly, I'd just cry. You know, everything. It's just my emotions were upside down. And luckily someone came to me and said, it's all right to cry all the time the first year. Don't worry about that. I just had to wash myself, I
Yeah,
think,
no,
all the pain. But even in the midst of all of that, I listened, and I loved when somebody that had 50 years of sobriety would just cry, talking about how their lives had been changed. And then I also loved it when somebody would just really be obnoxious because they were suffering, but they were honest.
Yeah.
You know, I, like you said, it's the reality of the program
Sure.
that really gets to you.
sure.
I love that.
And I think the imperfection of everybody being human
Yes.
beings, we're all
Yes.
imperfect. We all have character defects. We all have, and what I found was these were people that would admit it.
Yes.
And the outside world likes to put this thing up, and it's like, I am perfect. Look at, I have no issues, and let's talk about everybody else. And in there, it was internal. It's like, I'm going to talk about my crap,
Well, and that's just, that's the problem right there, holding stuff in
Yeah.
and sitting on it.
Yeah.
And another thing, though, in the program, we teach and we preach and we even show, if somebody says something terrible that they just did, we say, keep coming back.
Yeah.
Keep coming, instead of, ooh, you did that.
Oh, my buddy Mandeville, Dave, he says we don't shoot our wounded,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and I love that.
That's
Yeah.
something that's different from so much of what we've experienced in the church. Many people with church hurt, they said, well, they just got judged.
Yeah.
But they come to Alcoholics Anonymous and it's like, keep coming back. So you kicked your dog, keep coming back,
I know, and I talk about being around folks that have been doing it a little longer than me or a lot longer than me and seeing how they react to life things and all that. And to carry this one step further, the shame and you have a relapse and you've been in there a little while and then you have to drag in, and I say that with quotation, but you have to feel that kind of disappointment with yourself and embarrassment or whatever the feelings are. But Mike here one day, we were sitting in a thing and there was a lady had been coming in there. She was doing really good. Didn't see her for a few days. I don't think I ever said anything to Mike about this, but before the meeting, we're sitting there. The lady walks in, tears running down her face. She's just holding her arms like this. And I'm like, what happened? Like, oh my God, And she walks up to us and we're like, are you okay? And she said, I relapsed. I had a slip and I drank for 3 days or something. And I remember going, oh no, what do I say? And Mike just calmly goes, well, she goes, everyone's going to be mad at me. And Mike goes, that's like getting mad at a fish for swimming. We're not mad at you. And he just walked off. But you could see the relief on the lady's face. Like, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. What we're going to do today, And I just, that always stuck with me. It's like, we're not going to make something out that doesn't, we all do it. We're all capable of it. So I don't know.
I don't know either.
Right.
Yeah.
Before the grace of God, there goes
It's a good place
I.
to be.
Absolutely.
I know it. So,
absolutely.
I know that we've about ran out of time.
Okay.
Sig, thank you for coming by.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
And we will
yeah.
definitely have you back. We appreciate you coming and giving us some guidance and input on this thing. I don't even know what our next topic's going to be. So,
Sig, what is your sobriety date?
December the 28th of 22.
Okay.
there's a
Nice.
lot of 22s. I was in
Yeah.
the noon meeting today. There was a lot of 22s. I noticed
Yeah.
that. 22 must have been a
good
good
year.
year.
It was a big year.
Yeah, it was a big year. A lot of those guys were in 22s.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of
Lot of
amazed me. So, and I will say this. I didn't get to say it earlier this past, between recording the last time and recording this time, my grandkids actually got to meet each other. And my granddaughter Savannah has a brother named Everest who's been in the hospital over in Dallas for the past, now it's going on 2 months. But he's 7 months old, and she had never got to meet him. And last weekend they got to meet each other.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a pretty
That's
cool
great.
deal.
Big
Because
step.
just the night before, me and my daughter were going back to Dallas from here. She gave me a ride, and she was telling me how concerned she was that her kids had never met each other. You know, and
Aw.
I was trying, you know, dads are, I try to make it, hey, look, here's the deal. When they're 25 and 27, they're not going to go, I can't believe you didn't meet me till you
Remember
were
that 2 months when I was a baby, you didn't talk to me?
but you know, but try to make her understand my perspective of it as opposed to not just hers. And it wasn't 3 days later her kids got to meet each other. So
That's
just
wonderful.
Really good.
another miracle of sobriety that, you know, it would have happened whether I sober or not, but I got to at
See
least
it.
enjoy it. I didn't
Yeah.
get to see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there've been too many people in that hospital room, but that is, you know, definitely going on. And I really am proud of her and the way they've handled that little situation over there. So we appreciate everybody's patience with our video. And I think the 4 frames that everyone's seen today, you know, I have the individual speakers, I have a quad, I have a tri, just different camera angles. That's probably going to be what we limit ourselves to. And then maybe either a black background or the blue background.
Until he
you
gets
see.
a drone, you know, and then we'll
Yeah.
drone
Well,
ourselves.
I don't know. At some point, we're not trying to spread the message. We're
High
just
tech
having
over
fun.
here.
you know?
Yeah.
And if you don't think you can have fun in recovery, start
Why
a
not,
podcast.
man? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I never thought in a million years. I thought I was going to be sitting in a room, reading a book, talking to an old man. And the truth is, that is just not how it works. I mean, we're here on a podcast on a Friday night, just enjoying it, you
Yep.
know, and I'm glad everybody does have patience with us because it may take a little bit. So, anybody got any announcements or anything else?
No,
I
sir.
don't think so.
All right, guys. Well, we do appreciate you all listening, and everyone, please comment on YouTube or on Spotify about the video. Any suggestions you got, we'll take them. We'll do whatever. But for now, we have been at Rule 62 Studios. We've been in Bossier City, Louisiana, and we've been the Grouch and the Brainstorm.